welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I am very excited to be chatting with Jaleigh Johnson, who wrote a lovely, cozy fantasy book called The Reimagining of Thornwood House. And I'm looking forward to discussing it with you today. Welcome, Jaleigh.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming by. So, first of all, as I mentioned, this book is a very sweet, cozy fantasy, but it's not so cozy that it doesn't really dig into some real emotion and some real places that people go when they are going through some things,
Yep.
like grief, for instance, and you bring it to both like a magical human type scenario, but also when people say things like, oh, well, the setting is also a character. The setting is also literally a character in
It is,
the
yeah.
reimagining of Thornwood House. So I'll start by asking you, so writing fantasy usually requires an ample amount of world building, but one unique aspect of the book, as I just implied, is that this book is built around almost like a world, something that's alive itself. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you came to imagine Thornwood as a sentient house? And was Thornwood actually the first character that came to you when you started writing this?
So actually, it was funny. Thornwood House was not the first character that came to me. That was Evie, my main character. But I kind of, early on in the writing process, because there was always the original like pitch to myself was that there was this woman who wanted to run away to the woods and renovate an old house and in turn renovate her life. That was like the very bare bones baseline pitch to myself. And I realized fairly early on that I didn't want to do an entire book that was kind of like, oh, it's home repairs. It's fixing, this rotting window trim, or it's, painting the walls. Or I had had enough of that in my own life, enough of home renovations and repairs. And I realized that wasn't really what I was interested in. But I was interested in that idea of renovating your life and reimagining your life after some great change, upheaval. And so part of it was a practical consideration. I can use magic to help with these repairs, to help solve this issue, to help make it more interesting for me to write. And as a fantasy novelist, I want to use magic wherever I can, obviously. But it also gave me this idea of, and once I knew how much Evie and Ruby's lives were going to be entwined with this house and revitalizing it, wouldn't it be an interesting opportunity to create another character that needed to be reimagined, that needed to heal, that needed to find itself again, and to weave it in with the stories of these other characters. So that was really when Thornwood House came to life, both literally and figuratively.
A lot of this book is also it's about choice, choice of bond, choice of family, choice of destiny. What was it about Evie's quest to choose her own path that resonated with you most? And how did Ruby's adoption fit into the overarching story of whether or not Thornwood would choose to bond with Evie?
I think that a big part of that was, it's really easy in our lives to get to the point where we kind of feel stuck, where we feel forced to make certain choices, whether it's out of duty, whether it's out of circumstance. I mean, sometimes choice itself can feel like a luxury. And I definitely wanted these characters to get to choose what was right for them, what would be best, what would help them heal. And obviously, there are a lot of obstacles to this in the book, and Ruby's adoption is one of them. It's something that both Ruby and Evie want a great deal, but there are forces that are working against that, specifically Evie's old job and trying to force their will in this situation. And that plays into Evie wanting to be chosen as caretaker of Thornwood House, but also wanting it, at least early in the book, out of necessity. She needs this to happen. And so it's also her grappling with this decision of, early on in the book, she knows she could force that bond, she could force that choice to happen so that she could get what she wants with her and Ruby. But she realizes that if she does that, that's taking the choices of the house away from it. And her also having to grapple with, if she does that, then any kind of chance at home they might have is tainted. It's in all of these characters kind of have to grapple with that, with, you know, this idea that the path to like happiness and peace that they're looking for, it's only going to be obtained by letting the house have its choices, letting people make their own choices.
I also love the background mystery that's tucked into the cast of small town characters. Did you always know the motives of Evie's opposition? I don't want to give away who or why or anything. When you wrote this story, did you have the foresight as to how you wanted it to end versus how it ended? Like, did you choose the ending? Did the book choose the ending?
Man, this is so hard because I want to pull back the curtain and talk spoilers, but I also don't want to give too much away. So the non-spoilery answer is that I did not know always fully what Evie's opposition was going to be. Uh, there were a lot of things that became clear to me in writing about certain characters and what I wanted from them and what I wanted them to be. But there were definitely aspects about the opposition that surprised me, that I realized that what I had started out with wanting and what I ended up with were different. However, as far as like how the book ends, there are certain pieces of the ending that I knew from the very beginning had to be there, and they are there just as I had always imagined them. And probably if you're listening to this and you have read the book, you could probably guess what scenes they are. But so as far as the ending, I had a lot of that squared away, but a lot of the journey to get there kind of grew and changed as the characters grew and changed in my mind.
Well, there is a lot of personality, not just in the house, not just in the characters and their relationships, but also like within the town. Would you ever plan on revisiting the world of Thornwood House?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because, yes, I do feel like I have more to say about the town. I have more to say about Iskendra, more to say about the Thornwood, about the people of the village, about the magic and kind of life that runs through this world. And so that's actually what I'm working on right now. My next book is going to be another book set in Iskendra. So you're going to get to follow some different characters this time, but you're going to get an expansion of the world and more about its magic, its history. And yeah, I have lots of fun things planned.
Well, that's really exciting. I mean, I do want to ask you just personally, what are some of your favorite books? Like, what inspires you when you are writing your magical worlds or just in general?
um, so, well, like, and if you're specifically talking kind of in the cozy fantasy realm or cozy adjacent, a lot of my love for that genre goes back to like the pandemic, all the way back to 2020. And that's kind of the roots of reimagining of Thornwood House go all the way back to that part of my life as well, because even though I hadn't planned the book that far back, that was when I first, the world felt really heavy and really intense, and I really needed to take a breath and find some stories that made me feel hopeful, made me feel, excited about the future and about the world and about possibilities again. And when I was asking writer friends, telling them what I needed. I think I was calling them quiet stories back then. I said, I don't want the world to be at stake. I want the stakes to feel more personal. I want things to feel very hopeful and very positive. And they gave me a lot of good recommendations. And I found books back then like Silver in the Wood by Emily Tash was a favorite that I read during that time and after that time. And like cozy kind of sci-fi solar punk. I love Psalm for the Wild Built, Becky Chambers. That's also a favorite. Of course, Legend and Lattes, when it came along, was wonderful. Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, that's a favorite in the cozy fantasy realm. All those authors and books inspire me. Maggie Stiefvater is one of my all-time favorite writers. And she's part of the reason I love worlds that feel very alive, that have this kind of weird, unfathomable magic that, doesn't necessarily subscribe to this set of rigid rules. And yeah, I just, those kinds of books and those authors, they feed me and inspire me.
Well, thank you so much. The Reimagining of Thornwood House is out early June, correct?
No, June 9th.
Yes, so very, very soon, and it will be out in the world. Thank you so much for joining us, Jaleigh. Hopefully we will see you once again talking about another aspect of Iskander, and we are going to close this chapter of Turn the Page.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.